why losing a job hits men harder than it does women. This is your personal reset button. I'm Dr. Jane, and I'm joined by the amazing Coach Kendra. How are you,
Thank you so
Kendra?
much. Oh, good. Thank you so much, Dr. Jane. So happy to be here today.
It's a beautiful day, and unfortunately, a lot of people are dealing with job loss right now. We were just having a conversation, and I was like, no, let's share this. Let's share this conversation. So we're just gonna kind of roll with this. We were just discussing how, when women go through job loss or unemployment, we kind of roll with the punches a little bit. Does it hurt? Sure, yeah, but it's a little bit more of a what am I going to do next attitude. And when a guy goes through it, it's a different connection. It's more I don't know, it's deeper. What do you think, Kendra?
Yeah, I agree. I think what I think is it's ego based. So I think with a guy, it affects their ego deeper than it does a woman, or at least it affects us too. But I think they really take it to heart. That's their ego. Their job is how they see themselves. How other people see them in their job, particularly if they had been there a long time, or if they were in a high value, position. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And that actually happened to my husband, C-suite, executive suite position, had been at the company 18 years, and it was almost 18 years. It was a punch in the gut to him. This was 4 years ago, but I was just discussing a couple of days ago this with a group of our clients and in one of our group sessions, and saying, it was a real punch in the gut, but it was pushing him into his next space of growth, which he and I had seen for a couple of years prior. I think that you need to be reaching for what your next reality is. And he was really loving his comfort zone. And so the universe handed him his next space of growth because he didn't seek it. But let me go into something that you just said, because I think that you're right on, but I think that ego is often misinterpreted. I
I
think
agree.
people often think that ego is kind of like, oh, I'm so awesome, look at me. And it's like an intentional or unintentional narcissism, but
Yeah.
we all have ego.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if I didn't have an ego, I would have rolled right out of bed and come on instead of curling my hair for you and putting on lip gloss. There's ego is a certain some ego is a certain healthy form of self-love and self-respect. But the
Yeah,
way,
absolutely.
yeah,
So I agree. I 100% agree with that. And I think that I know I have had a situation where I got laid off. I was only at the job for 4 years. I was a manager at a semiconductor factory, of all things. And I noticed in the group that I was in, it was a lot of people that got laid off. But I think the men took it harder than the women, in terms of, I think for me, I was looking at it just as you were talking to your husband about that. What's the next step for me? There's something else for me. And I think a lot of people, a lot of, I don't know, men want to either stay in the same position. They're comfortable with the comfort. And when you get blasted with that sudden layoff, and now you're not in a comfort zone anymore, it can be really scary.
yeah, it is scary. And it makes me think of, your brain and my brain. If we had lived during caveman days, you would have been born with the same brain construction or very similar brain construction to what you were born with. And I think it goes back to that hunter-gatherer, and the guys really attach pride, which pride is where ego starts to go dark.
Yeah.
And the guys attach pride to their ability to hunt and gather. And hunting and gathering for my husband looks like him behind a desk crunching numbers, or, in meetings, pitching things to people and developing companies. But, it's still going out, slaying the wildebeest, bringing back the meat.
Yeah.
And when his machete is taken away from him, for lack of a better, going back to, I don't know if cavemen had machetes, when his club's taken away from him,
Club.
he's going to club it to death. A machete is a little bit more graduated from that, but it is a hit to his ego because that pride mixed in there. And I think that that's interesting, on the continuum of of energy, when you're talking about energy as thoughts and emotions, you've heard that saying, pride comes before the fall.
Yes.
So on the map of consciousness, when you assign energetic values to different feelings or beliefs, shame, guilt, pride, um, neutrality, joy, pride is actually at the very, very top of the negative energy scale. And I think in looking at that, yeah, from science, and this goes back, and people are like, what the hell is she talking about? This goes back 50, 60 years in kinesthetic and psychological testing that's been done in many different cultures over time, many different age range people, and all of the tests really test the same. When people are feeling these different levels of thought or feeling or emotion, they're vibrating, their energy is vibrating at different levels. And pride is the very tippy top of negative vibration. It's the top of the low, if that makes sense.
Yep, absolutely. You actually have we have in GILD Coaching that graph that shows all of the different energies, which is really interesting to look at.
That's the emotional progression scale. That's kind of an entry level view of what I'm talking about. Yeah. So in our Master Your Mind program and our platinum, our Mastery Platinum mentorship, we go a little bit deeper into the science behind it, so you can understand and elevate the space where you are in your default vibration. But yeah, it's that, and we'll link that in the video description here for everybody. So go ahead and open up the video description. We have tons of tools and stuff down there for you guys. You can get in touch with Kendra, you can get in touch with me, and look for that emotional progression scale link, because you can download that as well. You'll know what she's talking about, but it's pretty much
information.
Yeah. So Kendra, what would you say to a guy who is in that place? I have a very dear friend who just last week was laid off, and for him, he was at this company, I think 5 years, and the company he was at before this closed. And so this is 2 layoffs in a row. So really, really great guy. He's a marketing professional. I mean, I actually was working at the company where he just got laid off from, and I'm the person who hired him and put him in the top marketing position. They had hired me to come in and do some consulting work and help them reorganize. And so I actually placed him there right after he was laid off from his last position. So this is 2 layoffs in a row for him. What would you say to him? Because this is a trauma.
Yeah, this definitely is a trauma. And so what I would do first and foremost is to make sure to maintain a good foundation on your day. So in other words, a lot of times when we experience something like this, we, I don't know, just forget everything that we were doing, or we don't have a good foundation. So the next day he gets up, he doesn't have a job anymore. What do? Well, you make yourself a really good foundational schedule that includes some mindfulness techniques, maybe some meditation and breath work, some exercise, make sure you're eating well and taking care of yourself. So self-compassion, self-care is probably the first thing I think of, because that will elevate your feelings, that'll elevate your serotonin, and those are the happy hormones that keep you in an elevated spirit, so that then you can take a look at your situation, maybe speak to a coach. Everybody needs a coach. My coach has a coach. Everybody I know has a coach, to be able to point you in the right direction of maybe it's time to start something new, or maybe you want to go down the same path. But those are some good examples of just how to get started the next day after you received that notice that was devastating. The other thing is don't take it personally to heart as that your job was not you. You're a whole separate person from your job. You obviously have skills and things that you can do that you can move forward in another position. And the way I look at it, and this has been true for me over the years, every time I've been laid off or I have myself exited a job, there's always something better that has come along.
Always.
It's every single time. There's not been one time that I've regretted either a layoff or quitting a job that I hated that was killing my soul. So, but those are some simple things to start out with. Making sure that you're not, making sure that you're with people that care about you, that you have a good, strong, group of people that respect you and want to listen
Absolutely.
and give you that love that you need at this time. And just be easy on yourself. Don't
Yeah.
don't beat yourself up. It's not your fault. So those are some,
Yeah. Well, and one thing that you said about having people around you, here are the immediate things that I would tell you. And here's actually what I did with my own husband. So I'm going to give you the same thing that I gave to him. I let him, he needed a couple days to lick his wounds.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then when I saw a pattern emerging, you do something for one day. Okay. You do something for 2 days. Okay. You start to do something for 3 or more days. Watch out. So after a few days, I said, with all the love in my heart, here's what I'm seeing. And I mean, this is coming from, he happens to be married to someone who's been coaching executives and helping people transition through layoffs for years. So like, you could possibly maybe have an expert that sleeps next to you in your bed. So I said, I am coaching people who have just gone through layoffs and firings and whatever. And here's what I would say to them. You've had a couple of days to lick your wounds. You've had a couple of days to be calm and let the shock sink in. Now it's time to get off your ass. I want you up at this time in the morning. I pretty much set his schedule for him. I want you up at this time in the morning. I want you to put on normal clothes. This gym shorts thing that you've got going on isn't happening anymore. Here's an unemployment group at this church down the street. You're going to go, you're going to meet these other executives. You're not the only one in this boat. You never know who you're going to meet. You're going to go to this. It's Tuesday mornings at 8. You're going to look great. You're going to look like you're going to an office. And then you're going to call this person, this person, and this person, because they have organizations that need your services and they can't afford to hire you. So you're going to volunteer for them in exchange for them providing references for you and allowing you to put that contracting work on your resume to hide the gap. And so I just, boom, 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 just do this, do this, do this. But the thing with guys that's different from girls, we can go into action a little bit more softly than guys do, but they need a general at that point.
Yes.
You say, go, do this, check, 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 check. And so, Kendra, you said, talk to a coach. Yeah, talk to a coach, call us, go look at our successful transitions program, because we actually have a very fast, it's a 5-week program. It takes you from, gee, I hate this job and I got to get out of here, to new job, or, oh my God, I just lost my job, what the hell I do, to new job. It's a 5-week program. You get us, we're guiding you through step by step, helps you to increase your worth on paper, helps you to increase the public perception of who you are and what you can bring to the table, really create a PR plan for yourself. And that's really what you need. So check that out. It'll be in the video description as well. But you've got to have that plan. So Kendra, when you said, have a schedule, that's great. The way that I would say it to a guy is a little bit harsher than you, because they need that general at that time, need to feel that purpose. Cause I think that's the hit to the ego is, what is my purpose?
Yeah. And they need, they want to get out and do things and make themselves feel like they're being, back in the game. And so that's really the only way to do it. See, Bob is lucky. He has a coach right at his house.
I'll tell you, it's really hard to coach the people in your own family, because you're so close to each other, and each other's, what I call the ugly underbelly. The downside of it. You guys just see me when I've curled my hair, and he sees me with this lover in the morning, and though that never happens.
But that's such great advice, though, Dr. Jane, because as you just said, there's so many people in that situation right now. So great advice on how to get going. And we have all the resources right at GILD Coaching to help.
Absolutely. With that. Absolutely. So check out Successful Transition. Send us an email if you want Coach Kendra to be your personal coach through the transition program, because you need a little bit of a softer hand. I can be soft and friendly, but not really in successful transitions.
You can actually start out with Dr. Jane and end with me for the, no, just kidding. But yeah.
Go to Kendra so you can lick your wounds and then come back to me for a little bit more.
That's the transition.
We have our own transit. It's a built-in, it's transition everywhere. So, yeah, but I mean, I think it's really important to recognize this is a trauma. Part of our identity is tied to what we do.
Yeah.
We're taught for it to do that because when you're little, people say, what do you want to be when you grow up? And you start attaching yourself to your talents. But you are not your talents. You have your talents. It's just like you are not your body. You have your body. You are not your emotions. You have emotions.
You know, the other thing I was thinking of too, Dr. Jane, is that, I don't know, people that are my age or so, in my generation, we were brought up to think that, it's because our grandparents and parents stayed in jobs for 25, 30 years. That has changed. It's not like that anymore. It used to be, back when I was younger, not okay to change jobs often. That was the thing. Oh, how long have you been at your job? Nowadays, it is okay. It's okay to have several different jobs. It's okay that you get laid off. It's okay to transition into something else. And that's what people have to remember too. It's everything is going to be okay.
It's more okay now, I would say. It depends on what industry that you're in. I coach a lot of nurses. Nurse practitioners seem to be drawn to me and GILD and seek out my individual coaching. Because when you go through nursing school, there's a big gap there in that education where they're not ever really taught how to be leader managers. But then when you're really, really excellent at it and you become that practitioner, you become a leader manager. And then you're like, wait, I know this whole nursing side, but what's this whole management side? There almost needs to be like a business school light on the side of nursing school, just to serve the students. So anyway, that's just one section of the world that I've seen, that job hopping is just so common now. But it really depends on your industry. It's not, it's frowned upon a bit in the financial sector because it's seen as unstable, and it also impacts your income if your income is client-based. So it's more accepted now. It's more common, but I wouldn't say to aim for that.
Right. Yeah, no, exactly. But just know that if you do get laid off, it's okay. I mean, and
check out on this YouTube channel. It was, I think, sometime in the summer of 2019, possibly, that we had a 3-part series on resumes. How to hide gaps in your resume is one of them. Things to do, things not to do. Some of the things you might be like, well, duh, but you'd never believe how many resumes I see with huge spelling errors, big grammatical errors. I got one from someone who asked me to look at it that gave his wife's full name, his daughter's full name, her age, what school she goes to. I was like, no, this is not 1948.
Right.
So, watch those, especially if you're putting together a resume. And because you never know if you're unknowingly doing one of these big no-nos. And I would just say for pretty much everybody, no photos and no personal logos. I have only allowed one personal logo on a resume that I helped build, and this person's initials spelled ACE, and she actually had a friend who worked in graphic art make her a personal logo, and it just worked. But otherwise, those are my big things. Like, if your picture's on your resume, pull that off. I don't care what you look like. It shouldn't matter. So don't.
Well, that's great information too, because I'm sure there are a lot of people out there that are redoing their resumes at this point, or taking a look at it, and it's always good to freshen those up anyway, every couple of years, just to make sure you have all the information correct on it.
I mean, I own my own business, and I have an updated resume, because you never know when an opportunity to do something is going to come your way. And it's really easy, because people ask, people will call us and say, hey, come speak at my event, or come do this thing. And they want a bio. And it's just really easy for me just to shoot them my resume and say, here's about me, a little about me paragraph, and my qualifications and all that stuff. So Always have that ready. always have that ready because you never know. And that was a big thing for my husband when he got laid off. And you said, you said people would stay at companies 25 years. He was like that right out of college. He's an accountant. He had already been picked by an accounting firm, and he worked there for 10 years and then applied for this one other job, and he was there for almost 18 years. And that was his career. Yeah. But he taught, and he was published, and he had but none of that. He didn't have a resume. So we literally had to start from scratch. And it was tough.
And it's not fun when you're trying to redo or do a resume, when you also know that time is of essence. It's just not a fun thing. It can be a nice experience, but if you're doing it on the fly quickly, it's not when you've gotten laid off and you're like, oh my God, I don't have an updated resume. It's not a fun event. It doesn't not make it fun.
Yeah. And I mean, I would really recommend successful transitions for anybody in that position, because if you hire somebody to do your resume, you're talking, somebody who's good, you're talking decent people are $500 to $800, but good people are closer to $1,000. So you're going to get that guidance, personal guidance through creating a rock solid resume for a lot less than that. If you want to go into successful transitions. But the most important thing is take care of yourself first, like Kendra said. Make sure that your mental house is in order so that you have something to give. Because when you're in an interview, people can smell desperation a mile away.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, that was the conversation we were having, and we just decided to record it for you. So here we are.
It was an important conversation too, because I know a lot of people out there will need something like this to guide them during this different time in the world right now.
Definitely. All right, everybody, if this has been of use to you, don't forget to check out the video description, give us a thumbs up, and subscribe so you know the next time that we drop a video to help you live a more successful life with lower stress and more happiness and the job of your dreams.
Thank you all for being here today. Take care.